Welcome back and thanks for watching. In this video, I am going to bleed the brakes in my R1250GS. These videos are sponsored by the online part store at PacMoto Tours, so come check us out at PacMotoTours.com/store. You can support this channel in two ways. One is by subscribing right down here, and the other is by purchasing your 6,000 and 12,000 mile maintenance kits for liquid-cooled R1200 and R1250 BMW motorcycles. As always, we appreciate your comments and feedback, so please drop us a note, give us a thumbs up, share your comment. If you have a better way of doing things, share that as well. In this video, I am bleeding the brakes in my 2021 R1250GS. This is the exact same procedure for water-cooled 1200s and 1250 motorcycles, RTs, GSs, whatever. I'm going to use these products from Speed Bleeder to assist me in this project. I'll share more about the details as I move along in this project. Are you ready to get started? All right, let's jump in. The first step is to remove this bleed valve and replace it with the ones that I purchased from Speed Bleeder. The ones for the rear are model SB1010S. These allow one person to bleed the brakes. They're not mandatory, but it makes it easy for a one-person job. These are the same valves needed on water-cooled R1200 and R1250 BMW motorcycles. These require a 7/16 wrench to install. Here I am on the front left. Here is the bleed valve. We'll have to replace that bleed valve nipple and replace it with a Speed Bleeder nipple. I'm going to use these Speed Bleeder nipples for the front. The front left and front right use a different valve, so you need to make sure you use the right one on the proper side. On the left side, which is where I am working, this is an SB6100. On the right side, it's an SB8125L. So again, I'm on the left side. I'm going to use an SB6100. I'm not going to show you the right side because it's exactly the same except the valve is different. Make sure you use the right one. You'll notice when you look, I'm going to take this cap off. When you look, there's an outer valve that's a 12 or 13 millimeters, but we're going to remove this inner piece right here, and that is requires an 8 millimeter wrench. So here it is right here. And let's take this off. A little bit of seepage, so I want to get this in quickly. This requires a 1/4 inch wrench. We will torque this to 10 Newton meters. Now we will install the bleeder bags on all three brakes. The advantage of these Speed Bleeder bags is that you can attach them to each brake caliper, and it just makes the job a lot simpler. The same with the Speed Bleeder valves. You don't have to have Speed Bleeder valves, but it makes it an easy one-man job because all you need to do is open them up. They don't backflow, so once you squeeze the brake and push out the brake fluid, you don't have to sit there and open and close the bleeder valve to keep air from getting back up into the system. So I really like this process. That's why I'm sharing it with you. This is what I use. We need to get access to the OBD port. So this is inside this cover. It is right here. I'll zoom in to give you a closer look. Here's our port right here. There's a little clip on the top that allows you just need to lift this clip up, and you can do it with your fingers, probably easier than with the screwdriver, and then just wiggle this out. There we go. Two little press things here. We can take the cap off. There we go. I use the Wi-Fi version of the GS 911. We'll plug that in. This is the rear brake fluid reservoir. I will have it opened. I'm always going to make sure that as I'm bleeding these brakes that I am between the minimum and maximum settings, so I'm not introducing air into the system. On the right-hand grip is the front brake fluid reservoir. It takes a T20. Take the cover off. There's a rubber liner that's inside there that'll also come off. I will also make sure that we're always between the min and max on the front brake fluid reservoir as we're cycling through and pumping brake fluid through the system. I'm now going to open each of these bleeder valves a quarter of a turn. That will allow me to depress the rear brake, pump brake fluid through the system. You'll see it in this hosing, and when I stop pumping the brake, I won't need to close this valve because this is a one-way valve. There, you're able to watch the brake fluid come through. Again, I can just leave this open. As we pump brake fluid through the system, we will need to replace brake fluid. So I'm using this Castrol brake fluid. DOT4 is what is recommended. You can see as this has almost come down to the minimum line, I'm going to go ahead and fill it back up to the maximum. And each time we activate the brake and pump brake fluid through the system, we'll add brake fluid back up to the max line, never letting it go down below the min line. Same for the front. We will open this left-hand side. Remember, I've put the speed bleeder valves in, so they're a different size than the factory ones. This takes a 1/4 inch wrench. I'm going to open it a quarter of a turn. I will need to fill the reservoir back up to the maximum setting. So there we are, back up at the max setting, ready for our next bleed. Before I start the actual brake fluid flush, let's just walk through what we've done so far. We've replaced the bleed valves with the speed bleeder valves, the one-way valves. I've attached speed bleeder bags to each one of the brakes. We've opened and tested each one of the brakes by pumping a little bit of brake fluid through it so that we know we're ready. We're going to do one brake at a time, essentially. So even though we don't need to open and close valves for bleeding purposes, particularly when I do the front as well as the back, when I have to activate the brake during the process, we're going to do one brake at a time. So I'll open up the right-hand side, do a bleed, close it back off, fill up the reservoir, open up the left-hand side, do a bleed, fill the reservoir back up, close the valve, go to the rear, open up the valve, do a bleed, fill the reservoir up, close it up, and that will be our flush process. The GS911 is going to walk us through the timing of how we do this, so follow along with me. All right, we're almost done. Let's disconnect the GS911, put our cap back on. This just slides back into place, if I can see in here. All right, we have completed the brake fluid flush on this 2021 R1250GS. Same procedure for any water-cooled 1200 and 1250 motorcycle. But wait, I have an idea. Let's see how much money we saved.
Thank you for calling BMW. Press 1 for service.
Your call is being transferred.
About how much it costs to do a brake fluid flush. About $250 to do a brake fluid flush at the dealer. We just saved a ton of money. All right, these videos are sponsored by the online part store at PacMoto Tours. Come check us out at PacMotoTours.com/store. You can support this channel by subscribing right down here and purchasing your 6,000 and 12,000 mile maintenance kits for water-cooled R1200 and R1250 BMW motorcycles. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.